Okay, we should be ready to go. Well, welcome everybody. Happy Tuesday. Welcome back to Walks on Wall Street. Today is Tuesday, July 11th, 2023. Now, this is going to be a pretty big week on Wall Street, particularly tomorrow. Now, there's two main topics of conversation for tonight that we need to go over, because tomorrow is officially the day that we've all been waiting for, the much anticipated inflation day. That is correct. Tomorrow, the Bureau of Labor Statistics will be releasing their CPI data for the previous month. And obviously, as we know, CPI is one of the most critical components of data that the Federal Reserve looks at as they're formulating their monetary policy decision. So if we want to do just a little bit of a quick recap here, the Federal Reserve has gone on an interest rate sort of extreme tightening cycle, if you will, due to high inflation in the United States over the past year. So the Fed has taken the Fed funds rate from about 1/4 percentage point all the way to currently 5% to 5.25 percentage point. Now, if you look at futures markets right now, well, before we actually say that, I just wanted to note in June, we did not have an interest rate hike. The Federal Reserve decided to forego that rate hike. They decided to pause to wait for more data to come in to set their policy decision for July. So the July decision is going to be made on July 25th through the 26th, because that is the date of the next FOMC meeting. That acronym stands for Federal Open Market Committee meeting, and as of recording this video right now at 8:55 p.m. on July 11th, there's about an 87% probability that the Federal Reserve is going to raise rates in 2 weeks by 25 basis points. Now, if they do that, that is going to bring the Fed funds target rate to a range of 5.25% to 5.5%. And as we've talked about, many analysts on Wall Street, as well as many notable economists, are sort of projecting that 5.5% is going to be the barrier, right? Is going to be the line in the sand where the Fed should theoretically stop raising rates. I'm not too sure about that. We may have a little bit of disagreement there, but we'll talk about it. So if you look at the majority of economists that were surveyed by the Wall Street Journal and Forbes, the vast majority think that the CPI for June is going to come in at 3.1%. Now, this is per annum increase, so this would be on a year-over-year increase versus last year. Now, if that's the case, that would be about a full percentage point less than the CPI reading from last month, which is actually pretty good. But there is a little bit of a catch here, okay? So there's two main components of the CPI. You have your headline number, and the headline essentially includes very volatile food and energy. Now, the Federal Reserve, for whatever reason, and I tend to actually disagree with this, but it doesn't really matter what I think, the Federal Reserve puts a little bit more credence as it relates to their decision-making for monetary policy in the future to the core CPI number. Now, for those of you who don't know, core CPI is essentially the headline number, but excluding volatile food and energy. So it would make sense when we look at these comparisons from economists, right? They're looking for the headline number to come in at 3.1%, but the core CPI number is actually supposed to come in at 5%. And that would make sense, right? Because if you take out energy, energy has gone down substantially over the last year. We've talked about crude oil almost to the point of ad nauseum here. If you look at March of 2022, a barrel of crude oil was trading at about $130. Now we're at $74 a barrel. So, energy prices have come down, but there's two really, really sticky categories which we've gone over, particularly last night on the live stream. And that is shelter costs, right? Housing is very expensive in the United States, and food is very, very sticky. So we'll talk about inflation tonight, but we will also be talking about our friends, our neighbors to the north, our Canadian pals. So why would we want to be talking about Canada? Well, it's not all about the Federal Reserve. It's not all about the US Central Bank, okay? It's a big world out there. There's global central banks, and just so happens that tomorrow the Bank of Canada will be setting the precedent for their monetary policy. We're actually going to hear the monetary policy decision from our friends in Canada. Now, consensus, there's about a 75% likelihood, according to the futures markets right now, that the Bank of Canada is going to raise interest rates by 25 basis points. So we'll talk a little bit about that tonight, and we'll talk about how global central banks, such as the ECB, the Bank of England, Canadian Central Bank, the BOJ, how these global central banks usually use the Federal Reserve, which is our central bank here in the United States, as sort of a proxy for what they're going to do, sort of like follow the leader, if you will. So I'm going to go ahead, close down my laptop. I'm going to put my computer away. We are starting this live stream from Central Park West, the building that we are literally streaming in front of. This is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. This is a 5-star hotel right at Columbus Circle. Just so happens to be adjacent to the brand new Deutsche Bank Tower, formerly known as the AOL Time Warner Center. And in this tower to the right, you actually have the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, which is another 5-star luxurious hotel in New York. So we'll talk about that. It's a beautiful night, thank God, no rain, a lot less humidity. So I'm gonna put you guys down for a moment, then we'll say hello to everybody in the chat. So give me a minute. All right, guys, this should be a little bit more of a favorable live stream. I finally remembered to put the strap back on my briefcase. So I'll quickly show you. Usually I take the strap off during the day because it gets a little bit annoying. But when we're doing the stream, I can't hold this thing. I got to throw it around my neck. Anyway, all right, let's get started. I'll actually start off by taking you guys directly in front of 1 Central Park West, because the building right next to 1 Central Park West is a very famous building in New York. It's actually one of the most sought after luxurious apartment condos in the city, and it is called the Limestone Building. That's sort of its nickname, but the address is 15 Central Park West. Now, this is actually a very famous steakhouse in here, Jean George's. So you'll notice you have 3 main doors in here, right? The first door is to the Michelin star restaurant. And then as you walk over to the middle door here, this is the hotel. So once again, this is the Trump International Hotel and Tower. Residences where you could actually purchase units in here or rent. Very beautiful building. Hey, I see Dutchman here. I'm just gonna go down the list and say hello to everybody. Hey, ETC333, long time no see, man. Hopefully you're well. I see my good friend Ryan Beck. I was messaging you earlier, good to see you. Danielle says, good evening, Tom. I was watching, oh, the 130 William. Yeah, so I think what I'm gonna do, because many of you don't have, what is it called? I'm blanking on the name. Instagram. I think I'm gonna upload any property tours that I do to YouTube, just so you guys could sort of stay up to date and in the loop. So I'll do that. Gary Carpenter's here. I see Lena Sandoval, the one and only SME Media. Hope you are well. Golden City is here, says I'm here. Hey Tom. El Diablo is here. Oh, that's Abstract Angel Artist. Okay. You gotta change your username there. That's cool. Love that. I think I said hello to British Gray in Tampa, Florida already, but we'll say hello again. Now, this is the front of 15 Central Park West. This is the most exclusive address in the city. And look at your view. right as you're entering your building, you have panoramic views, sweeping, breathtaking views of Billionaires Row. Now, since we're here, we might as well just name the towers, right? For those of us who are new. This building right here on your left, this is actually the skinniest residential apartment building in the world. The address is 111 West 57th Street. It's actually called the Steinway Tower. Now, right at the base of the Steinway Tower, you can just barely make out a sign. And if you could read it, I'm not too sure the quality on the live stream. But that sign says the Essex House, and that's one of the oldest hotels in New York. And it is owned by J.W. Marriott. So it is the J.W. Marriott Essex House. Amazing Art Deco, super classic 5-star hotel in New York. Now, the building in the middle, this is actually my favorite of the bunch on Billionaires Row. This is 157, and this is the first Billionaires Row development that ever went up, sort of started the trend. The developer is the Extel Group. Gary Burnett is in charge of that company. Then we have our friend Ken Griffin from Citadel Securities. He owns, I believe, a triplex in this building with the gold top. That is 220 Central Park South. That is a Vornado development. And then right behind it, and much taller, is another Extel development. It is called Central Park Tower. And if you look all the way at the top, it looks like the lights are on. Maybe there's an event of some sorts going on. But that is the triplex. That is going for about $250 million. And Serhant has that listing from the broker-dealer Serhant. Hey, Joe, what's up? This is Who Lives on Top? Well, nobody right now. It's actually on the market. So in theory, if you're interested in purchasing it, just contact our good friend Ryan Serhant from Serhant. It is on the market if you want to take a look. But this is a nice area. I think in my view, you know, if you had to ask me, where do I think property values in Manhattan are always going to hold its value the most and appreciate? I always say anything Central Park South, spanning from Columbus Circle all the way to 5th Avenue. Let me just make sure I'm streaming in 1080p. Up to 60th Street. That's sort of my my go-to there. Hey, Sunshine After Rain, what's up? Good to see you. Adriana's here. Yeah, Adriana, at 111 West 57th Street. You really can't get anything for below $5 million. I think the entry price there is $5 million. Although there were some one bedrooms that I think are now all sold out, that I think they started them at $3,995. So a hair under $4 million, but you know, that's usually how it goes on 57th Street. But I really wanted to cross the street to show you guys this building. It's oftentimes very overlooked, but in my view, this is what actually set the tone for Billionaires Row. Now, technically, I understand it's not on Billionaires Row, but this was developed in 2008 during the Great Financial Crisis, and it almost seemed unbelievable that you could have a very successful ultra-luxury sellout in New York City during the financial crisis, but they managed to do that. I think we've said before, former CEO of Goldman Sachs, Lloyd Blankfein, has a really, really nice unit in here. I believe Alex Rodriguez also had a unit until he moved to 432 Park Avenue. But this is a really nice building and very quiet too. You notice we are quite literally across the street from Central Park. If you live on Billionaires Row, right on 57th Street, you get all the hustle and bustle and the craziness of Midtown. But once you go up to Central Park West, everything is kind of quiet. You're overlooking the park, and it is very, very peaceful. Hey, Ryan Beck says, geez, I bet they are now way up on their equity. Well, some are and some aren't. I think the most notable sale in this building, I'm going to butcher the pronunciation of the gentleman's name, so I'm just going to opt not to. But it was a Russian oligarch who actually purchased one of these units for his daughter. And, you know, this was in the midst of the financial crisis, or the resurgence out of it, if you will. That's 432 Park in the distance. But I don't know, I think maybe that purchase maybe missed the mark a little bit. But as we've talked about before, you know, it's a very different sale, right? It's a very, very different sale when you're talking about the luxury market, particularly in these big buildings like Central Park Tower, 15th Central Park West, the Steinway building, and so on and so on and so on. It's a little bit different because it attracts a lot of international buyers, a big international audience, and it's mainly served, well, I shouldn't say mainly, one of the main purposes is for diversification, right? You know, if you're a Russian oligarch and you want to move some of your assets out of Russia, out of reach from the Kremlin, Vladimir Putin, you could park some of your capital, you know, 20 stories in the sky over Manhattan, and you'll be able to have $20 million of assets in the sky that you know it's going to be there. We're seeing a lot of buyers from Argentina, right? Think about what's going on in terms of global fund flows. This is why I also stress the fact that it's important to understand global macro. You don't have to be a huge global macro junkie, but just you need to understand what's going on in the world. So in Argentina, they have about 115% inflation, if you could believe that. Now, here in the United States, tomorrow, Wednesday, is our big day, okay? We are getting our inflation data out tomorrow. And think about what many of the economists on Wall Street and analysts are projecting that US inflation is going to be. They're projecting 3.1% year over year. So 3.1% in the United States, or 115% in Argentina. So think about if you're a business owner in Argentina. Think about if, you know, you're a high income earner, right? You would want to move your money out of pesos into dollars or into a more stable currency, or diversify into an asset in a major city in the United States, such as New York, LA, Miami, Houston, so on and so forth. So it's a very, very different sale. If you are specializing in the luxury market, it's a very different sale. There's so many different moving parts, and it's more of an emotional sale, I would say. Hey, Stephen Bates, what's up? I see Lemonade in the chat. Leida is here. Always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for joining us. Adorable dogs there. So we are now at Central Park South. This is my favorite neighborhood in the entire city. And here is the Deutsche Bank Towers. I'll just quickly show you one more time. Hey, 161s is one of my favorite locations in all of New York. It really is. I love this. Love Central Park South. You know, it's funny. You guys see this development right here? This actually used to be a Starbucks, believe it or not. I'm not sure if we have some native New Yorkers here, but I used to come out of the train, get a coffee, and then walk to school. I used to go to school literally right around the block. So even just over the last 5 to 10 years, this neighborhood has changed a lot. A lot. I guess I'll give you guys some direction on where we are headed to tonight. I want to take you all to Sutton Place. Now, we've been there many times, but we do have a lot of new viewers here. So I thought it would be appropriate to start at Central Park South on the west side of Manhattan and take a walk all the way over to the east side and check out Sutton Place. So that is where we will head to tonight. Hey, Brick Stonewall is here, Custom American Fire Trucks. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Seems like a very busy night. Hey, New Yorkers here, says I've been gone since the pandemic, coming back this month to that area. Hey, very cool. Where did you wind up going, if you don't mind us asking? Maybe out of state, different state, something like that? Arctic Paratroopers here, says hello all and Tom. Good to see you, Arctic Paratrooper. So I sort of want to dive right into this because we may need to cut the stream short tonight. Equity markets traded really well today. The S&P 500, the NASDAQ, and the Dow all closing pretty much at the high of their range. But one of the things that I'm noticing, and we've discussed this before, is that it seems as if a lot of the larger cap, right, mega cap, particular technology companies, the Amazons of the world, the Metas, the Apples, the Alphabets, right, Alphabet, Google, those particular stocks were really leading the market. So there were analysts and market commentators, portfolio managers on the street saying, you know what, this rally is not sustainable because there's only about 7 stocks that are driving the rally. Well, that has actually changed now, and it's actually changed in a big way. I want to draw everybody's attention really fast to the ticker symbol IWM. So IWM is the ticker symbol for the Russell 2000 ETF. And the Russell 2000 are the smaller cap stocks, the smaller cap companies in the United States. And it's actually been performing pretty well. So we've been seeing this cyclical rotation, a pause out of the mega caps that have run up really well, such as Amazon, Meta, and the like. And we're starting to see fund managers reallocate and deploy capital to some of the smaller caps and the mid caps. And that's actually what you want to see. You know, you don't want to see a market where everything just dumps and the indices pull back on really disturbing volume, slicing through major moving averages. We actually haven't seen that at all. Quite the contrary, right? The larger cap stocks are taking a little bit of a break, and the smaller cap stocks, the Russell 2000 and the like, are actually picking up some of the slack. This is 8th Avenue. It's always very windy here. Give you a quick shot of the street view. Hey, Perez, is Bank of America fined $250 million over fake accounts and illegal junk fees. You know, these banks make me so sick. I kind of got to be careful what I say. But don't they? I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, team. Think about Wells Fargo. And I don't want to make the whole stream just like dumping on the banks, but I think it's appropriate to call it out when we see it. You know, Wells Fargo, and I don't even think it's alleged anymore. I think this is, you know, I think they were fined billions of dollars. They were opening accounts, right, checking and savings accounts, without customers' consent. That's just, I mean, to me, that's just bizarre. You know, one of my old friends, he used to be a portfolio manager at Morgan Stanley. And he would tell me, he's like, Tom, sometimes it's just the cost of doing business for these banks, right? And what he meant by that is, I'll give you a quick example, right? If you want to talk about the metals market, a lot of these major banks like JP Morgan Chase, BNP Paribas, which is a major French investment bank, they use the paper derivative, right? If you think about like SLV or something like that, it's called the paper. On Wall Street, they call it paper. They use the paper derivative to manipulate the price of the underlying asset and suppress its price movements, right? And they were caught multiple times doing this, and they've had to pay multi-billions of dollars worth of fees. But they'll do it, right? And again, allegedly. But they'll do it because if they can make 10 billion and they have to pay $4 billion in fines, it seems like a pretty good trade. But I didn't hear about that. That's actually surprising. Usually Bank of America doesn't really have a huge track record for doing things like that. Wells Fargo has a horrible reputation for that, as we went over, you know, opening accounts without customers' permission, which is just fraud in my view. Anyway. Oh wow, Bree Graham says, Tom, I used to work for Wells Fargo right before the crash, and they were doing a lot of shady stuff. Yeah, I mean, especially in 2008, I could definitely imagine, particularly with, derivatives, collateralized debt obligations for mortgages. It's crazy. Hey, El Diablo, thank you so much for your very kind 333 CAD. It says cheers from my channel to yours, Tom. Thank you so much to all of our Canadian viewers. Michael J is here, says I work for the bank you are facing in technology, not finance, and it doesn't make me proud when these stories come up. Yeah. Were you talking about Deutsche Bank? We were just walking past Deutsche. So Deutsche Bank used to be actually 60 Wall Street. I actually worked 82 Wall Street, which is, it's so crazy how things have changed in Lower Manhattan. 82 Wall Street now is a hotel. It's actually a really nice hotel. It's called the Wall Street Hotel. But the largest, I think it was the second tallest building on Wall Street, next to the Trump Tower. Deutsche Bank 60 Wall, they've left, they vacated, and now Wall Street is really, really dead. Really dead. Hey, Dima is here. This is where do you go for your financial news? I really like Investors Business Daily. I think that's a really good publication. For those of you who are new here, IBD, or Investors Business Daily, was founded by William J. O'Neill. Now, unfortunately, he passed away over the Memorial Day weekend. I think he was about 90 years old, which is a blessing in and of itself, right? If you can make it to 90, it's pretty good. But before he passed away, he sold his company, right, Investors Business Daily, to News Corp. And News Corp owns the Wall Street Journal, and they own Barron's. So now you have the three major financial publications all under one roof, right? You have Barron's, Wall Street Journal, and Investors Business Daily. I think all three of them are very reputable publications in my view. Sometimes I'll read the Financial Times, sometimes not. But this is Central Park Tower. This is 217 West 57th Street. This is the tallest building on Billionaires Row. You can still see some of the remnants from the scaffolding here. Demas says, I didn't know that. I use Barron's. Yeah, so Barron's, Wall Street Journal, and Investors Business Daily, all the same company now. News Corp, Fox News, things like that. Hey, Dutchman is here. Good to see you, Dutchman. Thanks for joining us. We're gonna walk straight down 57th Street, and maybe we'll take a stop at the Plaza Hotel. Sunshine after rain, welcome. So we're coming up on 7th Avenue, 57th Street. And you're looking at Carnegie Hall, which unfortunately has all this scaffolding around it. But they've been really ripping up 57th Street. I mean, look at all this. Hopefully it'll turn out really nice. That guy's peeling out of his Mini Cooper. But yeah, hopefully it'll turn out nice. I mean, they've been ripping up this street for like a month now. This is the Carnegie Diner and Cafe. Very expensive diner. So I think you probably pay for the location. But check this out. If you look all the way down 7th Avenue, and you see all those big beaming lights in the distance, that's actually Times Square. So if you take this all the way down into the belly of the beast, you'll hit right into Times Square. I don't think we'll do that tonight. I don't have enough, how do you call it, mental fortitude for that. This is Alwyn Court. For those of you who are unfamiliar, I want you to Google Alwyn Court. The address is 180 West 58th Street. It's one of the most beautiful buildings in the city. The facade is unbelievable. can't really make it out at nighttime, but during the day, I mean, the building is absolutely stunning. I think it's one of the most photographed buildings in Midtown Manhattan. Hey, Dan saying, what's up? It says, have you ever counted how many steps you walked last year from streaming? Quick math. I think I usually do around what? Maybe, I actually gotta look. I wanna say 20,000 steps. I gotta see, but I think it's right around there. If I had to guess, just shooting off the top of my head. All right, one more look at Carnegie Hall. Hey, Sweet is here, welcome. Solo 401, hopefully you were having a good Tuesday. Hey, New Yorker says, I had an office at 57th and 6th. It's a great location. Love that. Now this is 157. This is the first building on New York City's Billionaires Row. But you know what I want to do for you guys? I want to give a shout out to this artist. I actually met him the other day. He is such a nice guy and he's so talented. I want you guys to look up this artist. I'll just give him a quick shout out. It's very reminiscent to these pieces, but it's actually the facade of 157. It's the facade of the building, which is really, really nice. So check him out. I think he has more work here. Maybe I'll put the QR code so you guys can scan it and see it. Hey, Julia M, you're in Cape Cod now. Very cool. Very nice. And across the street you have the Russian tea room. Hey, what's up, man? Good to see you. We're just showing them your artwork, dude. We love it. Thanks. Yeah, that's the, what do you call it? The artist. He also doubles as one of the main, I guess, reservationists at the Park Hyatt. Very nice guy. Might as well take you guys through here. I'm not too sure what particular development this is, but it looks like they're going to build something maybe another super tall. I'm trying to look for, usually they have the design plans here. Oh, here it is. June 2025. Oh, Leading Builders Group. That's interesting. Let's check that out, actually. I was gonna guess it would maybe be Maclo, Extel, something like that, maybe Vornado. Looks like it's all commercial space. Hey, Lisa's here, says good evening. Good to see you, Lisa. We're in the maze of scaffolding. All right, hopefully you guys enjoyed that scaffolding maze. So let's talk about the Bank of Canada for a moment, because tomorrow is not only a big day for us Americans as we get our inflation data out, but we're going to hear from the Bank of Canada as they announce their monetary policy decision. Ooh, hold that thought for a moment, guys. This is the showroom, the sales showroom for 111 West 57th Street. This actually used to be the headquarters of Steinway and Sons Piano. But do you see the model building in there? If you look right here, that's the model. And look at the ceiling. Really unbelievable work. Some of the best craftsmanship in New York. Beautiful. Now, I think anything past the 25th floor at 111 West 57th Street, they're entire floor units. So your elevator drops you off directly into your own apartment, and you have the entire floor. So you don't share a floor with any neighbors. You actually own your entire floor overlooking Central Park South and unobstructed views of all of Midtown Manhattan. So you can see the Empire State Building all the way down, depending if the night is clear, all the way down to One World Trade Center, which is really, really nice. Hey, Rachel Abreu's here. Good to see you, Rachel. Hopefully the weather is nice in Miami. But yeah, so we got to talk about the Bank of Canada, okay? So the central bank in Canada is projected to raise interest rates by about 25 basis points tomorrow when they announce their decision. Now, if we do a little bit of review, they have raised interest rates already about 9 times. So if you think about the very, very start of this quantitative tightening cycle, I'm seeing so many guys on mopeds now. It seems like everybody's got a moped in New York. If you think about the quantitative tightening cycle that really started with the central bank here in the United States, which just so happens to be the Federal Reserve, interest rates in Canada were 0.25%. So 0.25. Assuming that you get another 25 basis point rate hike tomorrow, that's going to bring the benchmark rate in Canada to 5%, which is pretty significant. And this impacts the real estate market, this impacts the equity market, and it impacts specifically how people allocate their capital. And I'll give you probably one of the best examples that I can think of. If you go to Treasury Direct, I think it's treasurydirect.gov, right? As it relates to the United States. As of recording this video, a 1-year US Treasury note is yielding almost 5.5%. To be exact, it's yielding 5.433%. So what does that mean? Well, that means if you buy a 1-year Treasury bond, the government is going to pay you almost 5.5% risk-free rate of return for just holding and lending the US government your money. So think about it if you are a wealthy individual, or let's say you're, upper middle class. Let's say you have $1 million liquid and you don't want to risk the money in the stock market anymore. You don't want to deploy that and use leverage in the real estate market. Well, you don't have to. You could just simply roll out of bed, log on to your brokerage account, or go to Treasury Direct and automatically guarantee yourself a $55,000 yearly salary for buying a US Treasury. Now, I think that is good news because over the last 14 years, we've gone on this monetary experiment in the United States that I like to call ZIRP. And ZIRP is an acronym that stands for Zero Interest Rate Policy. And that's not normal because that punishes people who are doing the right thing. So finally, now that the Federal Reserve has been raising interest rates, you could say that we're rewarding savers once again in the country. And I think that's actually a positive thing. Now, other people would spin the narrative and say, you know what? We have a big housing affordability crisis in the US, and higher interest rates are going to make it worse. I think you'd be correct temporarily, okay? However, if you've studied past market cycles, particularly in the real estate business, there's sort of an inverse correlation, if you will. Now, doesn't mean what happened in the past is going to happen in the future, but usually as interest rates go up, valuations of real estate can come down. Now, we haven't really seen that all that much. Real estate values have come down across the country, but if you compare those valuations to 2019, you're still up in some markets over 50%, and in some very, very niche markets, 100%. So I think over the long term, and when I mean long term, I mean, maybe the next 12 to 20 months, assuming that we stay in this rate environment of higher for longer. This is the Aman Hotel, by the way. This is one of the most expensive hotels in the city. I think that's going to give the average American an opportunity to make a positive risk-free rate of return. So you got to think about it like this. In the investment business, you have to think about a rate of return in real rates and nominal rate of return. Real rate of return is factoring in inflation. Nominal rates does not. Looks like we have the FDNY coming here. We'll hold that thought. Anyway, but I wanted to ask you guys, I wanted to ask the people in the chat, have you considered or have you already changed up your allocation? Are treasury yields looking more attractive to you? Are you, opting to up your allocation to fixed income? What are you hearing on the street? What are you guys doing? I'm kind of curious. While we're answering that, I want you guys to look this up on Google. This is called Aman, New York. It is a Japanese branded hotel, and it is one of the most luxurious hotels in New York City. Now, I believe room rates start at about $1,500 per night. Yeah, you heard me right. I think $1,500 per night at the Aman. Anybody stayed here before? I have not, but maybe we have some viewers who have had the pleasure of staying there. Lemonade says, I was definitely thinking about changing allocations. Hey, Ryan is here. What's up? Good to see you. Dan Sang says, Tom, the Reserve Bank of New Zealand is releasing its rate decision at 10 p.m. tonight. Ooh, you're right. I totally forgot about that. Hey, Madison 32. I do not know of a company. I don't. I haven't heard of it. Let me take a screenshot of that, and maybe I'll get back to you. But what do they do? Yeah, Latha's like, I don't require the kind of security that comes with $1,500 a night. So we're standing right across the street from the brand new Tiffany building. This is the LVMH brand new Tiffany headquarters. Hey, SME Media says, Tom, Treasury yield is attractive, but I gotta say, I went to Treasury Direct and couldn't figure out how or what to purchase. Could have been me though. No, you're totally right. It's a government website, quite obviously, right? So the US Treasury, essentially what it is, for those of you who may not be familiar with the bond market, there's two segments of the bond market. You have sovereign bonds, and then you have corporate bonds or corporate debt. So the reason that the Treasury issues Treasury bonds is to raise money to finance government spending, right? Quite simply. You could think about the same thing as it relates to the corporate debt market, the corporate bond market. Corporations like Apple, Google, Amazon, any company really that's traded, can go to an investment bank and price out bonds, right? Can price out bond offerings. Now, corporate bonds generally tend to be higher yielding than sovereign bonds in the United States, right? Now, there's some sovereign bonds or government bonds around the world that are extremely high yielding for obvious reasons, right? But generally speaking, the rule of thumb is that corporate debt usually is higher yielding than U.S. Treasuries, because the U.S. government has never defaulted on its debt obligations. Now, the corporate bond market is priced. So if you're asking yourself, well, how do we know how corporate bonds are priced? How do we know what yields those bonds command? Well, it's a good question. And that is when the ratings agencies come into play. I'm sure all of you have seen the movie, maybe The Big Short, something like that. And there was that very famous scene with the ratings agencies, such as Moody's Analytics and the like. So the ratings agency's job is to assign a creditworthiness score to these corporate bonds, right? So for example, Apple, good segue. Apple's right here. This is the flagship Fifth Avenue store. Apple is going to have a relatively low yielding debt because there's a high likelihood that Tim Cook is going to pay his debt obligations. I mean, Apple has some of the highest cash balances out of any company in the entire world, right? They're worth more than some nations. Now, if you have a company that is in distress, the ratings agencies will assign a junk bond rating to that corporate bond. So the higher the yield, the higher likelihood that you're not going to be paid back, right? And that is why oftentimes you could actually use junk bonds as a proxy for risk appetite in the market, because I was going to talk about junk bonds. If you look at ticker symbol JNK, right, if you have your Bloomberg terminal up, or you use MarketSmith, or whatever, TradingView, I don't care. We can oftentimes, right, and there's a nuance to this, but oftentimes we could use the price or price action of junk bonds as a proxy for risk appetite in the market. So I'll let you guys do some homework on that and see where junk bonds we're trading at today. This is 432 Park Avenue. This is Harry Maclow's building. And this particular building, the GM building, he used to own as well, but had to sell it off. Or I should say, a part of it he had to sell off. Hey, Bill is here. Says, can't even book the Amman with Amex points. I looked out of curiosity. Whoa. Yeah, I think, Bill, you just reminded me of something. You know what? Somebody sent me an email today. It may have been one of you. I think it was one of you guys, which I appreciate, by the way. At the very top of One Vanderbilt, which we'll see tonight on the live stream. So at the very top of the One Vanderbilt is the Centurion Lounge. I think I'm pronouncing that right. I'm not a big Amex travel guy, but I think it's the American Express Centurion Lounge is at the very top of One Vanderbilt. So if you show your American Express card, I think a platinum or the black card, you get into this exclusive lounge atop of One Vanderbilt. Has anybody been there yet? I mean, I haven't been, but somebody sent me a video of it and it was unbelievable. You guys got to check that out. Once you walk off the elevator at One Vanderbilt, you have this picturesque, unbelievable shot of the Chrysler building. It's almost surreal. You got to check that out. Oh, it was SME Media. It was you. Yeah, SME Media. You're right. It says, oh yes, I told you about that a few weeks ago. It was you. Thank you so much, SME Media. I appreciate it. I want you guys to do that. Pull up a separate YouTube tab and search American Express Lounge One Vanderbilt and watch the promotional video. It's unreal. They did a really good job with it. I've never been yet, but looking to go soon. So now we are standing directly across the street from the Plaza Hotel. This is probably one of the more famous hotels in New York. You've probably seen this in the movies Home Alone right here. Hey, Dusty Cole, what's up? Ryan Beck says only Centurion, and oh, really? So you can't get in even with the platinum card? Strange. Interesting. Dan Sang says, Tom, did you see the news that Microsoft can finally purchase Activision Blizzard? I did. I think the government just approved that merger now. Look, I think it's a good play, right? I mean, Microsoft definitely has the money to do it. But you're always, anytime really Apple, Microsoft, any of the big tech companies go after another company, sort of like an acquisition target, there's always going to be like antitrust pushback on that, just because these companies are so big. Now, this is a good segue here, because the building that we're looking at right now is called the Sherry Netherland. And I posted a tweet on my Twitter account today, and if you guys want to check it out, you could follow @WalksWallStreet on Twitter. But I made a particular tweet about the ETF ARK. The ticker symbol is ARKK. Now, if you've been following us here on Walks Wall Street over the past 2 years, I've been very, very hypercritical of Cathie Wood and that ARK Innovation ETF, right? Very high beta, super frothy growth stocks. And I've been very, very bearish on that particular ETF for about 2 years. But this last May, I turned very bullish. I turned very, very bullish on, well, I should say I've turned more bullish on the trajectory of these very beaten down, high beta growth stocks. And the tweet essentially was, you got to go back and read all of the readings, or I should say all of the documents from Richard Wyckoff, arguably one of the best market operators ever. And you have to go back and read one of my personal favorite books, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. Now, Reminiscences of a Stock Operator is based on the life of Jesse Livermore. And it relates to this area and this particular building because right here in the Sherry Netherland, unfortunately, it's under construction right now. You can see all of the scaffolding here. Maybe if we cross the street, I can get you guys a better shot. But after Jesse Livermore would go down to Wall Street and trade in the bucket shops, right? Back in the day, the individual broker dealers were called bucket shops back in the day. After he would trade, he would come back here and go into his favorite hotel lobby bar, the Sherry Netherland, and he would have a drink. Now, on Thanksgiving Day, this is actually where he also unfortunately ended his life, in one of the coat closets here. So every time I walk past this building, I think about Jesse Livermore. So if you haven't read that book and you're interested in the financial markets, I would highly, highly recommend that book. So again, it is Reminiscences of a Stock Operator. And if you've ever heard of Paul Tudor Jones, Paul Tudor Jones is one of the greatest, I would say, trend traders of all time. Right up there with Stanley Druckenmiller. And if you apply to work at Tudor Investments, rumor has it that you have to read Reminiscences of a Stock Operator and write a report on it before you could start. So Sherry Netherland right here. So as it relates to the market, you know, go look at that tweet, and we're finally starting to see this bottoming out accumulation pattern across the board of a lot of these very, very beaten down high beta growth stocks that everybody lost their money in because they were buying these things at ridiculous valuations when interest rates were extremely low. So potentially a little bit of a contrarian trade here. I think maybe you'll find alpha in those names now that nobody's talking about them. Hey, GG NYC, good to see you. Crypto Meme, what's up? Thanks for joining us. TD, Teresa Diaz. Joel PM says I'm an ARK bag holder. A lot of people were, unfortunately. I've wrote many pieces about this. If you guys click the link in the description, we're gonna start to publish our investing newsletter regularly now. But I've warned about that, the 2021, you know, everybody with all the meme stock nonsense, all of this this really garbage, because essentially what happened with COVID is the government forced everybody to stay home and gave them a bunch of money. There was nothing to do. There was no sports. There was no casinos. The only casino that was open during COVID was the stock market. So everybody thought they were an expert, and they're not money managers, and they gambled all their money away. I just noticed this. This is really beautiful. This is actually the clock right outside of the Sherry Netherlands. Wow. I've actually just noticed this because they have so much scaffolding here. It's a shame it kind of blocks the clock there. But you know what? This is a hotel, as you guys know. However, you can purchase units in this building, and when you're not utilizing those particular units, you can actually rent them out to the hotel pool, if you will. And you can see the famous insignia, the SN for Sherry Netherland, here. I mean, tell me that doesn't look absolutely gorgeous in there. They don't allow filming inside, but you have to go on Google Maps and look at some of the photos. Jesse Livermore, reminiscences of a stock operator right there. Hey, Major Menace is here. This is very cool. Good to see you. So we're gonna go down 2 more blocks. I'm gonna take you guys to 57th Street. Then we're gonna make a left, and I'm gonna take you guys to a very quaint and desirable neighborhood in New York called Sutton Place. But this is the Plaza Hotel. But if you guys are enjoying the live stream so far tonight, you can feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually start these live streams at 8:30 p.m. Let's head back downtown now. There's a lot of traffic trying to get onto the 59th Street Bridge. Yeah, Lisa says that's a shame. It's really beautiful. Well, you know what? I'm working on some things, and I want to get some footage of the lobby because they just don't build buildings like they used to. And I know that's a very old and worn out saying, but it's true. You know, you look at the inside of the JW Marriott Essex House, unbelievable Art Deco style building, just one of a kind. If you've ever been inside the New York Athletic Club, that is absolutely stunning. And inside the Sherry Netherland too, it's unbelievable. So I'm working on some things to see if I can get you guys inside those particular units, and maybe even some that are for sale. We'll see. Hey, Dallas F is here. So what's up, Tom? Good to see you. Hopefully you're having a good Tuesday. Always a pleasure to see you here. I know, Joe Driver, it's wild, right? Almost 31,000 people here. That's crazy. I never would have thought that in a trillion years. But I appreciate you guys being here. I really do. Hey, touring different places. It's good to see you. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, so Bill says the Sherry Netherland has some units in the range of 400,000, but you got to look at the management fees there, the monthly maintenance, the overhead, the taxes, and I think there's a limit on the amount of days you could spend there. So you sort of have to read the fine print on that. Generally speaking, if it's under $1 million, there's usually a time limit in which you could spend in the place because it goes into the hotel pool. But it would be cool to say you own a place in the Sherry Netherland, that's for sure. Hey, Ken Brockton, what's up, man? Good to see you. Here we are outside of the Tiffany building. Now, so before we move on from our inflation talk, for those of you who are just joining, tomorrow's a big day in the United States. We're getting the CPI number out. The headline number is supposed to come in at 3.1%. That's on a year-over-year increase. Love that dog. I think it's a poodle. A year-over-year increase in inflation, 3.1%. Now, core CPI, which excludes volatile food and energy, is supposed to come in at 5%. So if we had to guess, out of everybody in the chat, do we think the inflation print is going to come in hot or above expectations, below expectations, or in line? What would you guys say? Hey, Anthony's here. What's up, man? Good to see you. Anthony, we were just talking about the Cathy Wood ARC funds catching a little bit of a bid. We're outside Trump Tower now. M's is fake numbers. Ryan Bex is in line. Justin S is in line. Dave's is below, potentially. That would be a good contrarian guess. So I think we nailed it last time or last month in the chat. Bills is just ever slightly over. Well, we'll see. Now, I'll tell you this. This is the main entrance to the residences. So 721 Fifth Avenue. This is where if you own a condominium or an apartment, this is where you'll go in. And then this is the 45 bar, like the Trump Bar and Grill. I'll see if I can give you guys a peek in here. It's like the wine and whiskey bar. Hey, Sabina Sanchez, welcome. CM says the Fed seems to be doing a good job. Hey, 48 from New Zealand is here. This is Tom, what is the inflation rate there now? Well, assuming economists are correct tomorrow, it's going to be about 3.1%. But 48, you're in New Zealand. I think your number drops here in a little bit, right? 10 p.m., according to Dan Sang. Or your monetary, or the central bank, New Zealand Central Bank, reports interest rates, whether they're going to raise or not. Vivian is here. What's up? Good evening, everybody. And Tom, good to see you, Vivian. Welcome on this pre-CPI stream on the corner of East 56th Street and Madison Avenue. Oh, here we go. This is the One Vanderbilt building that we were talking about, the American Express lounge in. Crypto Meme says, what is forecasted? 3.1% for the headline number, and for core CPI, it's forecasted at about 5%, which makes sense, right? Because energy has come down so much. So if you exclude food and energy, inflation should be a little bit hotter because shelter costs are ridiculous in the United States. I think that's also why home builders have been doing really well. If you look at any of the home builder stocks, right, Toll Brothers, DR Horton, really any of them, they've been performing really well because there's not a lot of supply on the market. Now, supply is ever slowly ticking up on the market, but where is the majority of the supply going to come from over the next few years? It's going to be from new homes, new inventory. So I think that's why those particular stocks have been doing pretty good. Anthony says, Tom, could you be my agent? Currently looking for 1.5 million condo on the Upper East Side. Yeah. Anthony, send me an email and I can connect you with somebody that's very solid. Now, speaking of that, this is 575 Madison Avenue. So this is Douglas Elliman's main headquarters. So if you think about all the top brokers at Douglas Elliman, they're in here. So Kirsten Jordan from the Kirsten Jordan team, the Gomez team, who was also on $1 Million Listing New York, their offices are right here. And so my new office is right here as well. I can't tell you guys exactly what I'm doing yet, but yeah, if anybody needs help with that, I could hand you off to a top broker or a good person. Hey Harper, what's up? Says, hey Tom, I'm working on getting, oh, in Florida, very cool. I don't know, so I don't have a real estate license in Florida. Now, I would assume you just go through the appropriate steps, right? You take the test, maybe you have to do the course. But what is it that you want to do? Do you want to develop real estate? Do you want to sell real estate? The only thing that I could suggest is if you're going to get into the real estate business, you have to throw yourself into it and you have to work it full time, right? Everybody, literally everybody, has the real estate license, but only about 10% of real estate agents actually do it full time as a career. And that's why you have the Pareto principle. Has anybody ever heard of the 80-20 rule? So about 20% of the people, and this is at any sales organization. This is if you work at Salesforce, Google, a big tech company like I used to work for. About 20% of the people produce 80% of the results. It's always like that. So if you're gonna do something, don't do anything part-time. You have to do everything full-time, and you should learn the business and have skin in the game, right? So if you're going to be advising people on how to buy real estate, you should probably own some yourself. You know, maybe you're raising money to invest. Maybe you have a fund, and perhaps find the best broker that you know in your community and send them an email, him or her, right? Go work for them, even if it means you have to do it for free. You want to get around people who know what they're talking about, who are competent, who are sharp, who are educated. You got to get around the right people. And I think that's in any business. If you want to be an investment banker, right? That's what you should do. You should go work for the best bank, the best managing director. If you want to work at a hedge fund, that's what you should do. Seek out the best manager in your community. They're there, right? Send them a cold email. Start being proactive. If you're managing money now, maybe send the hedge fund manager your equity research. Why did you purchase this particular company, right? All of the financial models you're building, you should pass that along to the people in the right positions. So I think it's about being proactive, being a self-starter, right? Doing things yourself. I guess that's really it. I think that's pretty much standard advice for any career, I guess. I don't know. Now, 2 days ago, they actually, I think DM informed us about this. They actually put the new Aston Martin showroom right here, which is really cool. So they have a Ferrari showroom and an Aston Martin showroom on the same block. Maybe they'll have the lights on this time. Here we have Bloomberg on the screen now. Oh, there we have it. Yeah, the FTC leaning towards appealing the Microsoft Activision. Crude oil is at $74 a barrel. This is East 55th Street and Park Avenue. Now this is 425 Park. This is one of the newest and most exclusive Class A properties on Park Avenue. This is home to Citadel Securities. We'll check out the Ferraris and then we'll go to the Upper East Side / Sutton Place. I think you guys are really going to enjoy that neighborhood. That's one of my personal favorites in the city. If you like something more quiet and want to get out of the hustle and bustle and the craziness of Midtown, I would say Sutton Place is probably the place for you. Yeah, Joe Driver, this is Tom and team. 2 to 4 months, I will be bullish on energy. Well, take a look at the crude oil futures contract, CL, right? Ticker symbol CL. It actually kind of looks like we're building a base. I mean, crude has been hammered, right? We've been from $130 a barrel all the way down to, I think, $62 a barrel. And now we're sort of trading sideways. So who knows? Maybe we rally back to the 200-day moving average, which is right around $80 a barrel. I wouldn't be surprised. And I think if that happens, I think you're going to see a big push higher in equities too. Who knows? Maybe you're right. Now, I'm not a big car guy, but if I had to choose, I don't really think I like the glossy paint. Do you know what I'm saying? I think I like, what is this called? The matte finish? I think I like the textured matte finish a little bit better, as opposed to shiny or glossy. Would you guys agree with that or disagree with that? Yeah, lay this is, that's very Miami. Matt, Vivian says Matt. Joseph Hardaway, agreed. Wow, Dan Zhang says the red one is a Ferrari SF90. It's $1 million for this thing? Okay, that's a little bit out of my price range. Man, think about that. $1 million for a car. I was gonna guess like 500,000. I was gonna guess $1 million. Yeah, Dave Morrison says Matt is much better. Hawaii says Matt makes the car look run down. I guess it's all personal preference, who knows? Now look at how strategically placed the Ferrari showroom is from Ken Griffin, hedge fund billionaire's office. He's literally overlooking the Ferrari showroom and the Aston Martin showroom. So who's ever in charge of marketing for Ferrari and Aston Martin, I think they should get a raise for strategic placement. I mean, Park Avenue is where all the major banks, hedge funds, family offices are. So it's just a marketing masterpiece. All right, whoa, we've already been streaming for almost an hour and a half. All right, we got to pick up the pace here because I want to take you guys to Sutton Place. We haven't been there in a really long time. And I think it's such a unique neighborhood of the city that's so different than anything we really see on a nightly basis, right? Now, the parks are probably closed, but there may be one where we may be able to get in, and you have a really nice view overlooking, you know what I was about to say? I was about to say Randall's Island. Oh my God. Not Randall's Island, Roosevelt Island. I have Randall's Island in my head because that's where all the athletic fields in New York are. And that's where we would play soccer, we'd practice there. And I believe the FDNY Academy is there as well, I think. I could be mixing up those two, but I love the marble right outside of 432 Park. Hey, Victor's here, what's up? Yeah, Randall's Island does have concerts too, you're right. Latha also, they have that very famous stadium that was built for the Olympics. Oh guys, it's our lucky night. They finally left the lights on at the Aston Martin showroom. I think maybe they were watching Walks on Wall Street and they listened to our criticism. So we'll take a quick look. This is the Cause sort of monument or statue here. This is very famous. In my old office, we used to have like a 20-foot statue of this guy in black. If you go down a little bit on Park Avenue, there's a 20-foot statue of Cause in pink. Looks like a big Elmo. But this is Aston Martin. What do you guys think? If you had to choose between the two brands, Ferrari and Aston Martin, what would you choose? Dan Sang says the Aston Martin just released its brand new DB12. Wow, that thing is a direct competitor to Ferrari. Now, does anybody remember our live streams in Miami? There's actually an Aston Martin Residences in downtown Miami. It's one of the most exclusive addresses in downtown Miami, and I believe it's already 80% sold out. Ladies 3, this is the green color. No, I kind of agree. I like the crossover. I think the matte black sort of crossover looks really nice. Now these things are probably, I mean, I couldn't even tell you how much these are. I think the car guy in the chat is Dan. Hey, TK Porsche, what's up? So Aston Martin is not in the same league as Ferrari in terms of racing heritage and overall pedigree. Ah, okay. Yeah, you guys are the car expertise here. I don't really know too much about cars, but is this true or is this a myth? If you want to buy a new Ferrari, you have to have an invitation to do so. Is that true or is that fake news? For some reason, I feel like I've heard that before. If you want to buy a new Ferrari, you have to get an invitation from the dealership or something? Oh, Road Dog says that's BS. Yeah, it was probably some BS I heard. Now this is one of the Formula One cars. These things are sick. Unfortunately, I was not in Miami for the F1 event. Hey, Cash NYC, what's up? Ken Glass says it's false. Man, these things look like a rocket ship. These things are crazy. Dan says it's kind of true. I don't know, I'll have to Google it when I get out of here, but Dan seems to know a lot about cars. Now, does anybody know this company, Aramco? Or Sentinel One? Sentinel One is a cybersecurity company, but does anybody know? That'll be the trivia question for the night. It's one of the most profitable companies in the entire world. Ah, you're right, Saudi Aramco. It is an oil company. Wow, it looks like this is going to be maybe an outdoor showroom. This is kind of cool. They're painting these benches. I don't want to go over here. Maybe somebody will come out and yell at us, but this is cool. Yeah, Gene Paul's Saudi oil company, you're correct. All right, now we're off to Sutton Place. Whoa, so everybody, Zozo Bob, for those of you who don't know, I regard him as our Miami real estate expert. So new update. The Aston Martin building that sits in downtown Miami is now 97% sold out. Crazy. Now, hopefully I'll be in Miami next weekend, fingers crossed, please God. I miss it. I miss Miami so much. But the building, the lights are coming on. And that is going to be an unbelievable addition to downtown Miami. That building is going to be amazing. Now, if you think about Sunny Isles Beach, Florida, which is a lot further north, you have the Porsche Design Tower down there, which is really, really unique looking building. Now, Zozo Bob, are there any updates on the construction of the new Bentley Design Tower, which is also in Sunny Isles Beach, Florida? Any updates there on the construction? We'll say hi to Babe Ruth. Vivian Francesca says, I love Sunny Isles. So my house is less than 2.5 miles away from Sunny Isles Beach. You could wake up, you could run to the beach, or you could take the Vespa. It's about a 5-minute ride over the intercoastal there. It's gorgeous. I really, really miss being in Miami. I wish I could spend more time there, but you know, that's life, as Frank Sinatra would say. Hey, Melissa 2087, good to see you. Thanks for joining us on the CPI Eve, Inflation Eve. And our good friends to the north, the Canadians, will be setting their monetary policy decision tomorrow. So we've now crossed over to the east side. Park Avenue, Lexington Avenue. Check out the Chrysler building all the way in the distance. Now, I don't know what this building is, but look at how unique it is. I really like the design here. Yeah, Lady Sarita. I was listening to that song today by Frank Sinatra. Yo, Paul Burnell is here. So Tom just got here. Good evening. I know, Hawaii's like I love short streams that keep going. I'm a talker. I ramble a lot. I think you guys know that by now. Once I get going, it's just, you guys have to shut me up, you know? But we're almost here. We're almost at Sutton Place. Now, interesting thing that's going on in the Manhattan real estate market particularly. So we just sort of walked the Billionaires Row neighborhood. 220 Central Park South, Central Park Tower, Steinway Building, 432 Park Avenue. Right? Now you would think that's the most expensive zip code in Manhattan. But if you thought that, you'd be wrong. It's actually incorrect. The most expensive zip code on the island of Manhattan is actually Tribeca, extending over to Soho, Little Italy, and a part of Chinatown. If you go all the way back to maybe when my parents were my age, one of the most sought-after neighborhoods in New York was Sutton Place. Now, Sutton Place has a lot of co-ops. A lot of co-ops here. We might as well cross the street while we have the light. But co-ops have really fallen out of fashion. And if you look at price appreciation data in Manhattan, condominiums have been outperforming co-ops. Because there's a lot more restrictions on co-ops. A lot more. In terms of, can you rent them out? Some co-ops, if you buy in the building, they have restrictions on who you can bring over to your own house, right? During certain times of the day, right? Are you allowed to have a dog? Are you allowed to have a pet? Real quick, hold that thought. This building all the way in the distance is very, very famous as it relates to Wall Street. Does anybody want to guess why the Lipstick Building is so famous? Well, I'm actually going to reframe that. Forget I said famous. Notable. Does anybody want to know why on 3rd Avenue the Lipstick Building is a notable building? Oh, Andreas, Tom, Messi landed in Miami this morning. Did he really? Whoa, dude, I'm excited about that, but I think the traffic around my house is going to be ridiculous. Yeah, DWG, you're right. Bernie Madoff. That used to be his office right there. Madoff and Associates. Used to be right here on 3rd Avenue in the Lipstick Building. Edward C. Yeah, you guys got it. Perfect. So you're actually seeing some properties, apartments, some co-ops trading at a little bit of a discount in and around Sutton Place. But, you know, if you're on Street Easy, right, and you're looking for apartments and you see, oh wow, this is a really nice place in Sutton Place. It's a 1 or 2 bedroom, but how come it's priced at maybe like a 10% discount relative to other neighborhoods in the city? It mainly has to do that a lot of them are older buildings, very restrictive co-ops, and sort of like we just explained, they're more strict. Let's just say that. And if you think about the first real major condominium that was built in New York City, it was the Olympic Tower. So I want everybody to look that up. Very important, okay? It's right next to St. Patrick's Cathedral. It's called the Olympic Tower. My friend actually lives there. It's an unbelievable building. But back in the day when it was just being built, a lot of New Yorkers were like, ew, I would never want to live in Midtown in one of these big, to use their term, gaudy high-rises, right? They thought these huge skyscrapers were too flashy, too showy, too gaudy, if you will. A lot of old New Yorkers that have old money wanted to live on the Upper West Side, Upper East Side. But that building actually sold very, very well with international buyers. And that building really set the precedent for new developments in the city that were condominiums, because condos were a little bit more flashy. They had more amenities. Some of them had swimming pools. Some of them had gyms. Some of them had business centers, conference rooms. They had insulated windows that block out the noise from road rage. And they started to sell really, really well. And as the older generation of New Yorkers started to have children, their children wanted to live in these fashionable condominiums as opposed to co-ops, because condos had all the cool amenities. You could bring your dog inside. You had swimming pools. You had all the bells and whistles. And that's sort of why you're seeing right now co-ops trade at a little bit of a discount to their condominium counterparts. So if you're not super, you know, if you don't need the gym, if you don't need the swimming pool, if you don't need the spa and the restaurant and the lounges, and you just want a nice place to live, and you don't want to throw parties and you don't want to rent it out, and you could deal with all the restrictions, well then maybe the co-ops, you should look into that. But getting through the boards, and these co-op boards can be a little bit, let's just say meticulous, if you will. Hey, Steve Gonzalez, what's up, man? Good to see you, Steve. Thanks for joining us as we head to Sutton Place. Now, this is the on-ramp to the 59th Street Bridge, Ed Koch Queensboro Bridge. So we're gonna go up one more block and then bang a left. We'll wait for the MTA bus to go on. I think you may be stuck.
Watch my phone, man.
Ooh, I think he just took out all the cones. It's not the bus driver's fault. He's just trying to do his job. Take it easy on the guy. Take it easy. Like, the people driving behind the bus have to realize that it's difficult to turn that thing when there's construction all around. And hammering on the horn is not going to help the bus driver make his turn. Yeah, Cash NYC says, I think Stuytown has many co-ops. And one of the things about co-ops as well, you don't technically own the unit. You're purchasing shares in the business, right? You literally own shares of the building, of the company. Condominiums, you actually own your unit. And that's why the board applications, excuse me, and the condominiums are a little bit more scrutinous, because if you allow somebody to purchase a unit in a co-op and they're not financially stable, that could be a big issue. And I've always said, and I sort of got to be careful when I say this, but New York City has, I think, really appropriate fair housing laws, right, for anti-discrimination and all that, which I agree with 100%. You shouldn't be able to discriminate based upon race, religion, anything. But if you think about what these co-op boards do, just because they're a co-op, they could sort of skate around that, air quotes, allegedly, right? They could deny you for any reason. So even though we have all these great fair housing laws, let's say if a managing director at Deutsche Bank sits on the board at this co-op, and a managing director at Goldman Sachs, his son just started at Goldman Sachs, and they just want a big deal from you guys. You could deny him from the building just because you don't get along with them and you're competitors. It's strange, very weird. Again, allegedly. All right, so we made it to Sutton Place. 432 Park Avenue is still visible, as always. Very beautiful. All right, we can cross. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this. This is First Avenue. Notice the transition, okay? This is very important. Notice the transition in terms of the architectural integrity of the buildings we were just walking past, right? All of these super tall, all gold, luxurious apartments and luxurious, I should say, office towers, to very quaint, very quiet, pre-war construction that is Sutton Place. Now, some of the townhomes here, I mean, are just almost, I am at a loss for words of how stunning they are. You guys will see in a moment as we make a left. But this is why the neighborhood is so desirable. It's about a 10-minute walk to 57th Street and Madison Avenue and Park Avenue, where all of the major banks, hedge funds, family offices are. But you're able to be tucked away in a very, very quiet and private neighborhood in Manhattan. Look at these original windows here. You can sort of see into the apartments. Yeah, Robert says I'd rather have a townhouse than a condo. Now, there's some really beautiful ones in the West Village. I think we went there Saturday, I want to say. Friday or Saturday, I can't remember. But some of those townhomes in and around New York University, West Village, I think those are my favorite. Look at this dog coming out of there. Oh, I think that's a yellow lab. 12 o'clock. Yellow labs, chocolate labs are some of the best dogs. Hey, the final call is here. Good to see you. All right, we've now officially made it to Sutton Place South. I'll show you the street sign here in a minute. Now, if you look all the way in the distance, you can actually see Queens. So you're living right on the East River. This is another beautiful thing about the neighborhood. Notice how quiet. Notice how there's virtually no street traffic. Beautiful buildings, and you have front-facing views of 432 Park Avenue. But if you have an apartment that faces east, you are overlooking the East River, which is really nice. I'll try to get you guys in the park. And we could actually see the water and the water taxis going by. I love the canopies here. This is 4 Sutton Place, beautiful overhang. Amazing American flag. Wow, look at this. I'm not sure if you guys can see, but this looks like he or she has some sort of a library here. And it's all that really sort of bright red, like oak wood, cherry wood. Really, really nice. Yeah, I think this park is closed, so I'll take you guys to the other one. But check it out, isn't this beautiful? Someone says, are these apartments? Apartments, co-ops, a little bit of a mix. And guess what? If you look all the way in the distance, you could actually see the 59th Street Bridge too. So 59th Street Bridge going up. Now these 3 townhomes are probably my favorite on the block. And I think you guys will agree once you see the front doors. Look at how gorgeous that is. You have an amazing, sort of like a textured cream white finish with that big sort of redwood door. And then all of the outer trim is the original black outer trim. It's really nice. This one as well. I think I like this a little bit better. Yeah, the usual suspects. The door really pops. Yeah, so imagine coming home after a long day of work and just, you could walk into your own front door in Manhattan. Like this, you don't get that here, ever. Your own private, sort of like a house, but you're in Manhattan. It's crazy. Really nice gate here. This one's really nice, sort of like brick. The top is nice as well. I think you guys will really enjoy this. This is Sutton Square on the corner of Sutton Place, and we're gonna make a right. Beautiful tree-lined blocks. That means it's gonna be really cool here during the day because you have a really nice canopy. It's one of the things I love about this neighborhood. I'll quickly show you. This may not seem like it's important, but let me tell you, as a New Yorker, this is important. Especially if you live on the Upper West Side or Upper East Side. This keeps the street from being ridiculous, rip your face off hot during the day, trust me. So that is a huge selling point for these neighborhoods, to be able to not only have parking, but to be able to have a tree-lined block that provides your particular street with shade. It's actually very important. And as you walk out your front door, you have the 59th Street Bridge that goes over Roosevelt Island to Queens. And this is a public park. This one is always open. This is called Sutton Place Park. Wow, look at how beautiful this is. This girl's playing the violin. How beautiful is that? Isn't that amazing? And you have your own private driveway, your own private backyards. here you have Long Island City in the distance, as well as the Williamsburg Bridge. And you can see the brand new East Side, sort of like the High Line, but on the east side now. They're almost done. Hopefully you guys could hear the violin. Wow, I may move here. I'm sort of regretting my decision moving to the Hudson Yards. So this is all Long Island City. So imagine living in this particular building. You probably have your master bedroom view over the East River and all of Queens directly down to the Williamsburg Bridge. Yeah, but you know, hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Very seldom do we ever come to Sutton Place. Hey, Midnight Boba, thank you so much for your $5 donation. Hey, Ollie Star, yeah, we are at Sutton Place. Buy the book, no problem. Take a look at this guy's boat coming by. Hey, Alexandria. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Not a lot of people, let me say this, people who are not from New York, they don't come over here. They don't venture over to Sutton Place. Not a lot of people know about it. So I think it's important to get to know a lot of these neighborhoods, particularly if you're looking to move to New York, because unfortunately many people can miss out on these great quiet neighborhoods. All right, let's head up. Now through the fence, a little bit, you can see their backyard. So imagine having a private backyard, Sutton Place, overlooking the 59th Street Bridge. It's really unbelievable. So once again, Sutton Place Park. Look at these townhomes. Imagine the views from there and your own private property, your own private driveway. Let's just say this, if you have a private driveway in Manhattan, the price is going to be pretty pricey. We'll just leave it at that. This particular unit has their own garage. So what do you guys think? Thumbs up, thumbs down on Sutton Place? Would you guys live here? Did you enjoy it? And keep in mind, you get all of the beauty and all of the quiet of Sutton Place with all of the convenience of walking not only 7 minutes to your office on Park Avenue. Hey, Kelly is here. What's up? J Catalyst says, I love it, never knew about it. See, not a lot of people know about the neighborhood, but it is a fantastic neighborhood. And this neighborhood's actually trading at a little bit of a discount for what we just talked about earlier, right? A lot of co-ops here. You know, neighborhoods in New York City fall in and out of fashion. I would say more people generally like the 130 Williams, if you will. They want the amenities. But if you don't need all those amenities and you're more concerned about the location and the quiet, check out Sutton Place. Hey, DM says, I would live there. I have always loved the East Side. I was born, Bellevue Hospital, okay. DM, good to see you. We were actually just checking out your recommendation of the Aston Martin. But if you guys are enjoying the stream so far tonight, feel free to leave a like on the video and click the subscribe button if you're new. We usually go live at 8:30 p.m. Yeah. Hawaii's like, I'm considering giving up my dream apartment at 130 William for Sutton Place. I think if you can get like an appropriate townhome overlooking the water, I think that's the way to do it. But the views from 130 William are insane. Manhattan Bridge, Brooklyn Bridge. Speaking of bridges, let's take a walk under the 59th Street Bridge. Now, back in my college days, we used to skateboard down this big hill. I took one of the worst wipeouts ever here. Pretty much blew my side open, right around my hip. So this is an interesting transition. I think it's important to pay attention to this.
We just opened
the north side of the 59th Street Bridge, what do we notice? We transition from the pre-war co-ops, that is old New York, to the new ultra-luxurious high-rises. It's sort of like the 59th Street Bridge, that dividing line between the old, quaint New York and the new condominiums. This is the trolley that's going over. Maybe we'll do this one night. Hey, James is here. Says, Tom, what's up, man? Recently watched a really good video on Bloomberg's YouTube channel called What It Really Takes to Convert Office Buildings into an Apartment. Hey, if you want to drop the link in the chat, I would love to take a look at that. Now, I'm assuming it was all about how difficult and expensive it is, correct? Because over the last 6 months, I've actually been really lucky and blessed to be working with a very notable real estate developer from Italy that does a lot of business in New York, develops a lot of multifamily in New York and Miami. And I've gotten to learn a lot about the commercial business. And it's very expensive, and almost all of these deals don't pencil. And that's why one of the things we've been talking about is a lot of the vacancies that you see in these office towers, particularly Class B office, these deals may just trade for land value And once demolition costs come down, it's probably cheaper just to demo these buildings than build brand new ones. Hey, Daniel G, what's up? This is Tom. You should do a walk you just did in the winter, just to contrast to the summer. That's a good idea. Now, it's good you bring that up, Daniel G. For those of you who don't know, Daniel's joining us from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Always good to see you. It's very cold over here during the winter and very windy for obvious reasons. You're right on the water. So in the spring and in the summer and in the fall, it's beautiful to be here. But similarly to Lower Manhattan, it's going to be cold and it's going to be windy. So it's a very good thing to note. Hey, TNE TV, what's up? Thank you for joining us. Appreciate it very much. This is Trader Joe's here. We'll cross here. But everybody, I want to thank you for coming out tonight and tuning in yet again to Walks in Wall Street. I really do appreciate it. Just a quick recap of what we talked about. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow is CPI. So the Bureau of Labor Statistics will be releasing the CPI index for June tomorrow. Consensus is for 3.1% year-over-year increase, and core CPI is seen rising 5%. Also tomorrow, we're going to hear from Bank of Canada, our good neighbors to the north, as they set the tone for their monetary policy decision. There's about a 75% chance that the Bank of Canada will raise interest rates by 1/4 percentage point, bringing their Fed funds rate to 5%. We also talked about growth stocks, how they're having a little bit of a comeback. If you want to see some of the charts we talked about tonight, go to my Twitter page at Walks in Wall Street and you'll see all of those resources. But until then, we will see you guys tomorrow, Wednesday. Maybe we will walk the Brooklyn Bridge tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. And I will see all of you right back here tomorrow at 8:30. If you want to sign up for our free investing newsletter, you can do so by clicking the links in the chat or in the description of this video. And I want to wish you guys a very happy Wednesday. So DWG, Spencer, Teresa Diaz, TD, thank you so much. Dusty Cole, Sunshine After Rain, Latha, thank you so much. It's good to see you back in the chat. We've missed you a lot. Hawaii, thank you for being here. Daniel G, keep it real over there in Argentina. Robert, Solar, Riley, Gary Carpenter, Vote for Cake, Dan Zhang, I'll see you later. Maybe I'll meet you in the city one of these days. Haas Manning, it's good to connect with you, sir. TK Porsche, NAV045, Glenda R. There's always a bull market somewhere and you just need to know where to look. Everybody have a fantastic Wednesday. Take care.